thought for a long time that film heritage, we didn't use the word heritage, but film history was something that you learned, like a list. You knew the beginnings and you knew the most recent work. And we thought of it like a kind of list of the great works. Actually, I think that's beginning to break down. And I think for younger people, certainly for people younger than me, the quantity of history is so enormous now that they can't understand it as a line. It's no longer possible to. Instead, it's exploded into a number of different specialist areas. So I think what I'm beginning to see is that heritage now means a very approximate sketch of the past, which is filled in detail in different ways by different people. No one can know it all because there's simply so much of it. So now we have to be more selective. There are specialists in different areas. This was not the case certainly 50 years ago, and it wasn't even the case 30 years ago, but it's definitely changing. So for the future, for 2050, we can expect that specialization to continue, just like we have in literature. It's already happened with literature, with music, many other fields, painting. The challenge will be, I think, to interest different audiences in different parts of that heritage. And we can see something really interesting happening already. For instance, the last time that Sight and Sound did its famous 10-yearly poll of the greatest films in the world, something quite extraordinary happened in the 2012 poll. 3 silent era films in the top 10. This had never happened before. It seemed highly unlikely. Silent film was disappearing from memory already in the 1960s and in the 70s, and it was getting smaller and smaller and smaller. What's now happening is we're seeing a return of silent film. I think that's driven by 2 things above all. One is it's driven by live cinema, musical presentation. There's no question that at least 2 of those films in the new top 10 are the kind of films that are presented again and again with live music. And I think that's playing a very important part in interesting younger audiences and different audiences in those films. The second thing I think that's driving it is DVD, of course. The availability of those films in new editions is helping to support it. And again, I think what we're seeing is an eclectic interest in the past. It's not an interest based on knowing all the history. It's people discovering a certain film and feeling they have a relationship to it. They don't know the rest of the history. They're not even looking at it historically, but they know they like it. And that eclectic interest in the past, I think, will grow. There'll be more eclecticism, people discovering different areas of cinema, Japanese cinema, Indian cinema, for instance. I think that the history of Indian cinema could become much better known than it is at present. Many different areas that have been the area for specialists could become better known in the future.